Setting up a PPC campaign for lead generation campaigns is quite different to that of e-commerce. With e-commerce, of course, you're generating online sales that are all tracked and revenue attributed digitally. Now, when you look at lead generation, you're tracking essentially leads being brought to a business. You're not tracking the revenue, or not necessarily tracking the revenue from businesses themselves. You're tracking the amount of times the phone rings, or forms are submitted, or live chats initiated. All of those kind of metrics are very different to revenue and online transactions. So in the video today, I'm going to walk you through the things you need to consider before, or if you set up a campaign already, when you set up a lead generation campaign on Google Ads, because of course it's very different to e-commerce. So let's take a look at what you need to consider when running a lead gen campaign. Hey guys, I'm Darren Taylor of thebigmarketer.com, and my job is to make you a PPC and SEO expert. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm a trainer and consultant specializing in PPC and SEO, so specializing in all of those channels. And if that sounds of interest to you, you should consider subscribing to the channel. And in this video, we're looking at lead generation PPC campaigns because, as I mentioned, they're different to e-commerce campaigns and generating revenue online. So what do you need to consider? The first thing to think about is your phone call leads. Now, if you're in a service-based business, be that B2C or B2B, it doesn't matter. Essentially, you are going to be generating phone calls into maybe a call center, or maybe you're a one-man band business, and the call will be coming to you directly. In any case, when running Google Ads for lead generation, you need to record phone calls. And I don't just mean calls from ads either. You need to set up call tracking on Google Ads for your website as well, to track people who go to your website via your campaigns, and then Google creates a dynamic number that replaces your original phone number and then allows you to track your phone call leads in Google Ads to specific campaigns and keywords. So that's really, really important when running a lead gen campaign, because you don't know what keywords are generating phone calls. It's all well and good your ads creating the phone calls through the call extensions within your ads, but if you don't track the activity on your website in terms of phone calls, you're not going to attribute your revenue correctly when the sales do start coming in. If you don't have access to your website code, you'll need to get your developers to add the code for you in order for you to track your leads online. So it's very easy to do. When you go into your conversions and you create a new call conversion, you just need to add a snippet of code on your website and tell Google what phone number is on your website. And in the same format as it appears on your website, you add that to the code on the snippet, and then Google will dynamically replace the number based on the click coming in from Google Ads. So it's really important you do this. If you can't do it, your web developer can, and even if there's a cost involved, it's definitely worth doing. Staying on the topic of tracking phone calls, you should also be recording phone calls as well. And yes, I know this might sound a little bit creepy, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure the leads you're generating are of the right quality. But in addition to that, you want to make sure your clicks, your budget you're spending on Google Ads is going towards people who are looking to inquire into your business, as opposed to existing inquiries or very weak kind of general inquiries that aren't necessarily going to turn into new sales. Full disclosure, if you're going to do this, make sure you're either the owner of the business, or you've had a conversation with the owner of the business, or if you're an agency or freelancer, you do this in particular, because of course people don't like their calls being recorded, and you need to tell the person or the business you're recording phone calls from that you're doing this. Even though it's going to benefit them in the long run, you still need to have that conversation. So make sure, guys, that you have that conversation. As well as the business being informed about recording phone calls, Google also puts a provision in place where when you enable this feature, then Google will tell the person calling the business that their call is being recorded. Now, of course, customers pretty much are used to this. A lot of businesses do record phone calls that come into their business, so it's not a big deal for them. Just make sure that you tell the business you're working with, if you work within it, or you're an agency or freelancer, make sure you involve the business in this decision. Now the warning is out the way. The benefit of recording phone calls is, of course, you can gauge the quality of the leads, and it's a great way to highlight improvements advertisers can make to generating leads and turning them into sales. If you're hearing phone calls with similar themes, maybe the inquiry is out of area, you might need to refer back to your Google Ads campaign and understand why that's happening. It could also mean if you're getting inquiries that aren't relevant, again, you can get the specific details held within those conversations as to why it's not relevant, and then you can go back again into your Google Ads campaigns and then fix any issues you're finding. So you can really refine your campaigns by listening to phone calls. It's not a fun task, it's not an easy task, it's very time consuming, but it's very worth doing. Another trick of the trade that I've seen quite often now, and I've tested this a few times in different businesses across both B2B and B2C, is that if you have a lead capture form on your website, try two variations. One as a short form request a callback or general inquiry form, and another one a long form quote form for your website. Now, the reason you'd have two of these and have one for short form and one for long form is because there are different types of buyer to consider. So if you're somebody who just wants a quick call back and just wants to give your information to a company, you can do that very quickly and easily with a very basic lead capture form. But that isn't just the only way people shop for services online. They also sometimes want to give you all the information online, so when you come back to them, what you give them will be accurate. Now, if you don't provide all the information up front, as a customer, you know you're not going to get anything accurate back. You're just going to get a phone call, probably a sales call, and it might not be of interest to you when you want more information. You might be time strapped. So that is why it's really important to also have a long form as well, where you can give full details, kind of walk the customer through a full quote journey. So when you do go back to the customer with accurate information, if they like what they hear, it will be a lot easier to sell to them. Now, I can already hear you saying that a lot of the time when you look at conversion rate optimization, people remove fields from forms and then take things away and make forms as easy as possible to fill out. So maybe what I'm saying sounds counterintuitive, but in actual fact, the quality of lead matters most. If you have a form that captures all the relevant information as an alternative to the short form, then it means the customers who complete the long form are really, really good leads. And guess what? As a business, you can prioritize those. When your sales guys are making your return calls to customers, you know that the person who completed a form with 20 fields, for example, is going to be a lot warmer lead than somebody who completed a form with just a first name and an email address. So that is what you should be doing. Make sure you give the customer a choice of a significantly long form versus a short form, because that's going to help you convert more hot leads. So now that you know how to record phone calls and record the success of them, it's really important now that you inform Google Ads on the success of the leads you're generating, because of course we're not tracking online revenue here, we're tracking offline conversions, people who convert over the phone or over email. So how can you tell Google Ads which click was successful? Well, the only way you can do that is to do what's called offline conversion tracking. So if you're in a service-based business, you should have a CRM system. And if you have a CRM system, it means you can track the leads Google Ads is generating. And then when you track that lead, if you import the click ID of that lead into your CRM system, every click you generate on Google Ads, and you can test this for yourself, it generates a unique string in the URL. That is a click ID. And that gclid, that Google click ID, you import that into your CRM system. And when you do that, when the sale converts, you can re-upload that data from that Google click ID back into Google Ads and tell Google the revenue it generated, and Google can attribute that click directly to the activity that was generated offline. So you can actually then start reporting on revenue for service-based businesses, making it kind of like e-commerce. Now, this is incredibly powerful. It's not easy to set up. You will probably need developer help in implementing this onto your website and into your CRM system, or even choosing a CRM system for the first time. So it's important, but it's also quite difficult, but I would advise you definitely do this. Just so you're clear on the process, I've mapped it out right here on screen so you can see a customer clicks a Google advert you've got out there, they convert with a form or a phone call, that data, including the click ID, goes into the CRM system, you have your conversations with the customer, eventually that lead turns into a sale, you record the sale in the CRM along with the value of the sale and the date of sale, and then you import that data back into Google Ads, and then Google Ads will tell you which keyword, when it happened, led to that sale, and it can attribute your revenue accordingly based on that click ID, which is super, super helpful. This is really important that service-based businesses implement this. Whether you do it now or you do it in the future, it's a worthy investment. And finally, the last thing you need to look out for when generating leads offline is that you're looking at your attribution reporting within Google Ads. Now, the reason for that is because if you have a ton of keywords in your account and you're noticing that there are a few keywords that are consistently generating leads, you might think all the money you're spending on the other keywords in your account aren't as important or not that important, but you might be deleting keywords that are used as a touch point on the initial user journey towards the conversion. So you need to head into your Google Ads and understand which keywords are generating your touch points. In Google Ads, if you head over to Tools and Settings, then go into the Measurement menu, you'll see an option called Attribution. Now, this will show you a breakdown of the touch points within your campaigns, keywords, and ad groups that lead to conversion. So it's not just a case of looking at last click conversion modeling. You want to make sure that the keywords in your account are contributing towards that overall user journey. It's a stepping stone towards those conversions. So when you look at the keywords in this reporting, you can understand and see which keywords are leading to sales and which ones are not even a touch point in sales. So don't eliminate all the keywords that don't have conversion data. Do this check first, particularly in the service-based industry and B2B, where sales cycles could be a lot longer. People that are spending a lot of money, maybe I want my garden landscaped or something along those lines. I'm going to take a while to research who I want to work with when doing this project in my house. So I need to make sure I'm working with the right person. It takes a long time. I click adverts time and time again to make my decision. So on those touch points, if your advert is no longer visible, I might lose touch with your business. And at the end of the day, you've got to make sure that you're visible all the way through the user journey so that when they do convert and you get the business, you're very comfortable in knowing that your advertising money was not wasted. You've spent the money on the touch points that lead to the conversion, meaning that you've secured the sale because of that visibility from the attribution. And that, guys, is what you need to do if you're running a lead generation based Google Ads campaign and you want to maximize your results. Now, let me know in the comments if you have any trouble implementing any of these tips. I'll be more than happy to help you down there. I reply to pretty much every single comment I get. Like this video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other content across my channel, and I'll see you guys on my next video.